7 feet. Holmgren won that one. You can switch Timmy if you want because you got him behind. Gemhard all alone for 3. I need a timeout.
March Madness. What a weekend. What a weekend of basketball. This is interesting to see. Your daily sports podcast, news, narratives, takes, and gambling. I'm Nick, etc. Thanks for hanging out. Huge weekend in sports, of course. Obviously, we're going to start with the biggest news of all, which is Desean Watson. We'll get to the Nhl Trade Deadline and check out some gambling stuff as well for March Madness. Desean Watson has been traded to the Cleveland Browns for 3 first-round picks and some other picks as well. What was really crazy was immediately Browns fans kind of lost their shit, and they're not into this essentially at all, and I can't blame them for the most part. We'll see what the fallout of this is, but it's bad. So not only did he get traded for a lot of stuff, he got a completely reworked contract that includes a base salary this year of just $1 million on a $230 million fully guaranteed contract extension, making him the richest guaranteed NFL player of all time on a single contract. Despite 22 allegations of civil sexual harassment and or assault. The contract has $1 million guaranteed salary this year because that just shows that he fully expects to be suspended, which means that Cleveland played ball and was like, oh, yeah, we'll just save $229 million so that when you get suspended, you don't miss out on all that much money, which is just the scumbaggery of that is crazy. People have kind of been delaying their outrage at Desean Watson because they've been waiting for the trade to happen. Now that the trade has happened, it's been crazy. Some lifelong Browns fans in the media have just been completely done with him. And I'll be honest, I think the blowback's going to be bad. I think I don't know. We'll see what happens. The NFL is always cynical and I don't know. I just get this weird feeling that at some point there's a line drawn. I don't think that anything's going to happen, but I think that this is going to be a thing for a while. He's going to get suspended probably for a year, maybe more. But I think people are going to make him talk about it. He has to go to the media. I think journalists are going to be mad. This is going to be wild. I don't know. It was announced Friday at 5 p.m., which is what's called in the business taking it out with the trash. And what that means is that they put something out on Friday at 5 p.m. so that it doesn't make the news cycles throughout the weekend and that there's shit that happens over the weekend to lead with, and that is true. For those of you not paying attention, a Boeing 737 has crashed in China with 130 passengers. That will lead. Also, March Madness will lead. Also, Ukraine rejected Russia's peace offerings to eat away at, I don't know, a sixth of its country. So it's not going to be the biggest story. It was the biggest story on Friday at 7 p.m., but it's no longer the biggest story. It's just a big scumbag move. It's honestly crazy. Cleveland has gone from the lovable upstart that they always suck. Now they don't suck as much to they're the biggest villains in football. They're the biggest villains probably in sports right now. And there's really, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how it all plays out and where loyalties are, but I imagine Desean Watson getting booed and harassed and it's going to be weird. And to completely sell your soul like this when you're such a shitty franchise to begin with, it's wild. I'm interested to see the rest of the fallout. I suppose we'll hit some other news, then we'll get to March Madness if you don't mind. NHL Trade Deadline is today, depending on when you're listening to this. Had a flurry of moves yesterday. Way too many to list because none of them are super interesting except for one that happened on Saturday, which was that Claude Giroux, the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers, played his 1,000th game with Philly last week. We did that here. I believe very, very confidently that Claude Giroux had been traded and that the trade had been agreed upon for some time now and that they simply waited to announce it so that he could play his 1,000th game with Philly. If you don't know, the 1,000th game in the NHL is a big, big deal. If I had to say, I would imagine that it's the accomplishment that players want the most, the single or the individual accomplishment. They obviously want to win the Stanley Cup more. But it's a huge individual accomplishment. And Claude got that with Philly. I'm sure he has a no-trade clause, so I'm sure he was able to kind of demand that as a thing if he wanted it to be that way. And I suspect that's what happened. That's just a guess. We'll pay attention to what happens today. Some rumored names, of course, are Patrick Kane and Tyler Bertuzzi. Those are probably the biggest rumored names. Had this happen in the NHL yesterday. Jamie Benn with an incredibly dirty play on Carlson of the Capitals. And no penalty is called. Jamie Benn, of course, cross-checked Dylan Larkin in the back of the neck last year during the COVID year and kind of got away with it. So we can watch the play here. It'll be up on your screen. Here's the replay. You want to listen.
John hustling back. Watch the stick right there. The little push from behind by Ben.
Just nasty into the boards.
Him off balance. And to me, that's a penalty. I thought it was Faxel, but it's actually Jamie Benn. Watch, a little cross-check across the lower part of the body.
Knew exactly.
That twists his left leg.
Knew exactly what he was doing. Knew exactly what he was doing. And that the danger of that situation is crazy. That could have been like potentially life-threatening depending on how he goes into the boards like that. Going full speed into the boards, and that replay does not do it justice. There are other replays, there are other angles where it's incredibly nasty. So Jamie Benn, we'll see what happens with him. That's an unwritten rule in hockey. There are a couple unwritten rules, and that's one of them. When you're going, this is why they got rid of the icing rule for those of you that follow the sport. We have to touch up. When you're going full speed in the boards like that, that's injuries, and it can kill you if you go in with your head at the wrong angle. People have gotten neck injuries and subsequently died from that kind of stuff. So it is a spineless chicken shit move from Jamie Benn, who is occasionally a spineless chicken shit player. Okay, I just want to get some. Oh yeah, I want to read the Browns statement. Quote, we spent a tremendous amount of time exploring and investigating the opportunity to trade for Desean Watson. This is from the owner of the Browns, Jimmy Haslam. We are acutely aware and empathetic to highly personal sentiments expressed about this decision. Our team's comprehensive evaluation process was of utmost importance due to the sensitive nature of the situation and the complex factors involved. We also understand there are still some legal proceedings that are ongoing and respect that due process, etc., etc. So, did they do that, though? Did they investigate? Well, it actually turns out they didn't call the lawyer of any of the victims. They didn't do any investigating at all, in any way, at all. At all. Didn't investigate at all. So that's the lawyer's Tony Busby. He said, quote, none of the 22 victims have been contacted by the Browns to see what's going on. They expect Baker Mayfield to be traded to the Colts. Moving on to other sports. I don't have any NBA news today. We'll deal with that later. Heading down the home stretch in the NBA, playoffs are coming around the corner. We'll get more into that in the coming days or weeks. Today's Nhl Trade Deadline and, of course, March Madness. Okay, March Madness. Let's get into it. Actually, wait, no, I do have an NBA thing. Yusuf Nurkic, who is out for the season for Portland, got into an altercation with a fan who looks like a little boy, but is actually a grown man drinking a beer who's sitting courtside, and he steals the fan's phone and throws it on the ground. So I don't know what the fan was saying. The NBA players are verbally abused, obviously. I mean, it's really bad. Because the rich people are, like, right there, and they think they're, like, friends and rich people. Let's watch this. He touches him with his phone. Does the phone... Okay, so let's rewatch that. Does the phone touch him? Because if it touches him, let's see, it's close. He just got his phone right there, and Nurkic just takes it and throws it away. And then he stares at him. So Barstool Big Cat's got this solution to people being dicks to athletes, which is that every year each team should get to pick one fan that's mean to them to fight them publicly so that they can just show exactly how dangerous the situation is. I don't mind that as a repercussion. So the history of sports changed forever last night, potentially. This could have been a leading story, but the CCHA, which is a college hockey conference, has got some of the best teams in college hockey, including Minnesota State. Last night had an interesting situation, and so we've been talking about this with the Saints. The Detroit Lions have been like this. Last night there was a foul that wasn't called in March Madness. It's easy in soccer and tennis and football, kind of in football and hockey as well, because something's a goal or it's not a goal. So this is the full statement, and I'll explain what happened. I guess I might as well bring it up on the screen. There you go. The CCHA instantly reviewed the Minnesota State goal at 3:02 of overtime and initially ruled the play as a good goal. Additional TV production camera angles made available to the officials provided conclusive evidence that the goal net was elevated and the puck entered underneath the frame. The play on the ice will be overturned and ruled no goal. The ice will be resurfaced, followed by a 5-minute warm-up. The game clock will be set to 16:58 remaining in overtime. The winner will be awarded the Mason Cup and advance to the NCAA Division I men's hockey tournament to compete for a national championship. So the team that lost stayed in the tunnel, which I forget who it was. Doesn't matter. And so the statute of limitations on the situation they didn't go to the locker room, which I guess is part of the bylaws of the CCHA. Regardless, something happened. Then we saw it on TV, and then they were able to go back retroactively and be like, okay, this is bullshit. Everybody get back out here after the celebration of winning the conference tournament. And I'll be honest with you. We live in a data analytics world. You got to get it right. You have to get it right. Even if you have to go back a couple plays. You have to get it right. And this is college. And it's college hockey, and there were no famous schools involved. There was no Ohio State or Michigan or teams like that. So we'll see if there's precedent here. I know that AAA baseball's toying around with robot umps. I think we're not too far away from someone getting screwed, and then everyone be like, okay, let's go back and fix it, and let's get the teams back out here. So they had to warm up again. So we'll see. I'm interested to see if this trickles down into other sports. All right, March Madness. It's March Madness time. Let's get into it. Drew Timme. He's an all-time this fucking guy. And we'll talk about it in sports, this fucking guy. When you see him on TV, like, this fucking guy's still in college? Oh, no, not this fucking guy. Drew Timme with his mustache, which is reasonably trimmed this year. Last year was too intense. He had this to say post-game about about how he pumped up the team. Take a listen to what he censors himself. Jesus.
All right, Drew. I heard you in the hallway motivate this team. What did you say in that locker room?
I said I don't give a flying F what happens.
Wait, what was that, Drew? What?
We lose or give a flying F.
Wait, hold on.
Room.
I said I don't give a flying F what happens. What happens at the end of the game, whether we lose.
Same, bud. Well, game of the year, Memphis and Gonzaga. Gonzaga advances Sweet 16 for 7th year in a row, I believe. Yeah, that sounds right. Other big news, I guess the story of the tournament. It's probably St. Peter's, Jersey City Community College. No, it's a Catholic school in Jersey City, which looks like a high school or like a YMCA. They're in the Sweet 16, man. They knock off, I forget who they knocked off, someone who wasn't really that good, but it's unbelievable what they're doing. I'm trying to find it. Oh, Murray State. So they beat Kentucky, they beat Murray State. Villanova survives and advances. They're just a really good tournament team. Wisconsin gets upset by Iowa State. Iowa State was 0 and what were they? 0-18 in Big 12 play last year. Yeah, they were 0-18 in Big 12 play last year. They were 3-22 on the year, and now they're going to the Sweet 16. That is amazing. Shouts to that coach and that program. Coach K survives against Michigan State. Michigan State looked like they were in control the whole way, early into the second half, and then Duke came back. Really great game there. Notre Dame fell apart at the end. They lose. Purdue beats Texas. Purdue in the Sweet 16? Get the fuck out of here. That doesn't make any sense. UNC beats Baylor. UNC gave up a 25-point lead. The game goes to overtime, and then Baylor loses in overtime. Yeah. Controversy last night. A player went up for a dunk at the end of TCU, Arizona. Arizona, of course, the 1 seed. TCU is a 9 seed. Went up for a dunk and appeared like he was fouled, the blocking foul, but he went up for the dunk. So not only did he not attempt a layup, the ball was in his hands as the light goes off, so no shot. And they didn't call a foul. Game goes to overtime. Arizona wins. Everybody's story this weekend could be something along the lines that it's a ref show. It's always a ref show. I mean, that's just pro sports. Also interesting, the SEC had a tough weekend. I don't think the SEC has any teams in the Sweet 16. Kentucky, yikes. Auburn, yikes. Alabama, yikes. Miami, dummied Auburn. Dummied them. Game was never close. Dummy. So your Sweet 16 are UNC, Kansas, Michigan, Providence, St. Peter's, UCLA, Arkansas, Gonzaga, Houston, Nova, Duke, Iowa State, Miami, Texas Tech, Purdue, and Arizona. I like Nova to win it all. But maybe it's Gonzaga's year. Finally, they're going to get over the hump. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Coming up tomorrow, we're going to recap the NHL Trade Deadline. If anything interesting happens, I think it's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. We'll look at the odds of how everything impacts the NFL Draft. There's also a bunch of NFL news that keeps happening. Some of it may be important. Some of it might not be important, and we'll look into that. Like, rate, review, subscribe. You can check out the show on YouTube and wherever podcasts are found, et cetera, et cetera.